map is, of course, Fighting Spirit, part of the Swarm Edition, spawning in the bottom right-hand position as the red Protoss from WOONGJIN Stars, one of the best Kespa Protoss players out there. His name is sOs.
His opponent playing for Samsung Khan. He's been in the scene for a long while. His name is Stork. Playing for Samsung Khan as Blue Protoss on the left top side position on Fighting Spirit.
As Stork, of course, one of the oldest veterans that's still actively playing in Pro League. I can't even think of anyone that's still, normally playing in Pro League matches that is actually older than him.
Oh yeah, I mean, Stork, he has 100 victories in OSL, 200 victories in Pro League, so he's been in the scene for a long while, and he stayed relevant. That's the key point. Some players, after a while, they start falling out of the scene, and before they reach the 100 wins or 200 wins, they retire. Just look at C. He's sitting on 175 wins right now. He has tons of wins stacked up in Pro League, but he doesn't play anymore. Now, you were talking about Stork and how he, how his play was a little scrappy in Starcraft2. So I want to explain how Stork played back in Brood War. Compared to all the other pro gamers out there, people have been joking about how Protoss, they don't need as much APM in Brood War as other races, but Stork, his APM was pretty much really low compared to all the other pro gamers out there. For example, his teammate Jongbi, who sit at, somewhere along between 300 and 400 average. Stork, he was always around 220 to 240, pretty much same hand speed as me actually, who's not even that great player in Brood War. However, he knew what to do with his APM. His understanding of the game was fantastic, and he knew how to micro in those small situations. So it just seems more like in StarCraft 2. Stork has a little bit less understanding about the game compared to the Brood War days.
That makes perfect sense then. They can kind of explain how sometimes we see hints of brilliance from him, and other times it's okay, whatever. I guess that kind of worked or just didn't work. But getting into the game here, both players, they're just scouting around the map, trying to find their opponent. Of course, this is Fighting Spirit. There's only one gas. That means it's a high-yield gas in the main base, and oftentimes that's why people consider it to be a very Protoss-favored map, because it allows you to easily hide and mask what tech you want to go for. And we do see a Zealot out here from Stork trying to do a little bit of damage to this probe here. Not going to kill it, and that Zealot is actually going to be moving across the map here. We also have a Stalker on the way for both players and Warp Gate. Looks like no Mothership Core yet for Stork, but we do have one out for sOs here, and a Stargate, fast Stargate from Stork here, so that's what he's going to be spending his gas on, not that early Mothership Core. And we can also see sOs, he's moving across the map. It looks like he wants to get aggressive, very similar to when Hero played against Rain yesterday in the Ace match.
Yeah, some players, they like to go for the Zealot Stalker, Mothership Core harassment, and the problem with the opponent Protoss who's going for a faster tech, like, for example, Stork, is that they always skip out on the Mothership Core and they never make one. Now, Stork, he is making one for himself. He knows what the other players did and their mistakes. However, this is going to be a Stargate versus Stargate situation.
Yes, and Stork's Stargate finishing up a little bit faster here. We have a little bit of a skirmish going on. Stork, he does have, I think, a tiny bit of an edge here. He did get a few good shots off in the beginning there, and the Zealot does fall for sOs here, so that is going to force him back. And now sOs, he's going to be scouting his opponent's base with that Mothership Core, also trying to get a few kills off before it will recall out of there. And Phoenixes are coming out for both players here. Stork's does finish first, and this Mothership Core has actually gotten a good amount of kills here. He's already up to 2. He may even get a third one before recalling out of there. Yes, getting a third one. Will he go? Yes, he gets the fourth as well. And is it going to survive? Yes, barely survives. 10 health, so sOs doing a good amount of economic damage and scouting with that Mothership Core. And I've really noticed Protoss players have been doing this a lot more recently.
You know what's also funny? He was able to micro 2 places at once with the Stalkers. He baited out the Stalkers from Stork really well, just forced Stork to use the Phoenixes only to defend against the Mothership Core, and that's why he was able to get up to 5 kills, was able to calculate really well how many kills he got and when he can get out of his base. Now, Stork, he does have the Phoenix advantage right now, and he'll be able to snipe the Mothership Core no problem. However, he needs to be careful with this extra Phoenix kicking in. SOS, he's in perfect position.
Oh, that was actually a terrible situation for Stork. At least he is able to snipe off one of those Phoenixes there, but the problem is he did not get the snipe that Mothership Core. He was one hit away from doing that. Time Warp going down, and these Stalkers going to try the micro a little bit more here, but the problem is these Phoenixes are going to be able to chase that Mothership Core and potentially snipe it down, but no, it looks like SOS, he's backing up here. He's got a lot of resources as well, so I think he's going to try and take an expansion pretty soon.
Yeah, expansion is pretty much just a standard choice when it goes to Phoenix versus Phoenix and your opponent, and you know that your opponent is doing the exact same build. So if SOS does decide to go for the expansion, all he needs to worry about is one base all-in from Stork, and that's what he's going to try to scout with the Phoenix, hallucinated Phoenix over there.
Yep, alright, so Stork deciding to move back to his main base, going to be a little bit more defensive. Now, SOS, he is getting that expansion, like I mentioned earlier, and oh, this is actually really smart by SOS here. He has the hallucinated Phoenix in front of his normal Phoenix, and he's going to use that to tank the first few shots from his opponent's Phoenix, or any other defensive units here, which is going to be really, really smart from him. And will that indeed end up working out here? That Phoenix, it's still part of this army, and it is taking the damage. It does get killed off here, but essentially those Phoenix, they wasted all of those shots on the fake hallucination. So I love to see these players using the hallucinate ability a lot more in their play.
You know, it's a little iffy at times, because sometimes if you add in the Phoenix, yes, it does tank the damage, but if you can scare away your opponent a lot more if you try to hallucinate an Oracle, and if the Phoenixes are not in the right position, it forces a player to pull all of the probes. And in Pro League, I only saw players trying to hallucinate the Phoenixes, so I want to see some players actually go for the Oracle instead of Phoenix.
I think in this situation he did it simply because he had the Phoenixes. But hold that thought, we have a battle going on here, and Time Warp going down. This Mothership Core from Stork very low on health. Another Time Warp going down, but not really doing too much overall here. And the Nexus Cannon, it does go down. Stork is going to be forced back here, but look at this. Such smart play by SOS, lifting up these Zealots, using the defender's advantage to his fullest potential here. And we have a big dogfight going on here. Phoenix against Phoenix, Stalkers and Zealots versus Stalkers and Zealots. But it looks like from the supply difference here, SOS pulling ahead by a large margin, and Stork, he doesn't have an expansion yet.
Stork, he's trying to make this work by any means. I mean, he's only sitting on one base. He knows how behind he is. He's killing all these probes, but I don't think that was the best decision. He needs to save the list for the main fight. And look at this, with all of his Phoenixes going down, he cannot actually win this, because like we always said, in the Phoenix Wars, whoever has more Phoenix and whoever wins that one battle is going to win the match.
Yep, and by the looks of things here, I think this is Stork's last push here. And the problem is there's still a Nexus Cannon available here, and there's just too many Zealots, too many Phoenix, too much everything for SOS here. Stork, I mean, he can micro his heart out, but at the end of the day, he does not have the unit count or economy that SOS has. He is forced back with the last of his units here, and continual lifts are just focus firing down more and more of these units. And I think this is going to be lights out for Stork here.
Yeah, it seems, yeah, SOS already on 2 base economy, and Stork, he didn't even touch any single one of those probes. He killed up to 2 with the Phoenixes, but that's it. Other than that, SOS is sitting comfortably. Looks like Stork, he's trying to get an expansion on his own, but he's already down in the Phoenix count. He's already down in the Stalker count. So now time is ticking away against Stork, and all SOS really needs to do is push up and win the game.
And now, if we look a little bit earlier on, by the way, nice micro there from SOS, winning this Phoenix on Phoenix fight here. There's something I do want to point out earlier. Remember when Stork was moving into SOS's base with his Phoenix, and he tried to snipe the Mothership Core, but just barely missed it? If he sniped that Mothership Core, I think that Stork's attack on the main Nexus the first time around on SOS may have been a little bit more successful.
It's a little iffy to call, because he would have made the Mothership Core right away, and then, you know, I don't know how the timing would have worked out. Maybe he would have had 100 energy out in time just to cast a Nexus Cannon. But even then, SOS already had more units. He already had more Nexus, so he could have applied a little more pressure. But other than that, SOS was going to win the engagement.
All right, so we have another engagement going on here. It looks like SOS regrouping his forces here, getting ready for an attack. Another hallucinated Phoenix out in front of these other Phoenix here, but will Stork fall for it this time around? I don't even think it matters at this point, to be honest, because, I mean, as we can clearly see here, SOS just completely ahead in the supply count. We have 81 to 55 right now, and double Stargate production behind this man.
Yeah, I mean, the supply count doesn't really matter. It's the Phoenix number that really matters in this situation. Look at the Phoenix count. 7 Phoenixes for SOS. His opponent has 0. And he could use the Phoenixes all around. It's not even like Stork has Blink Stalkers to deal against the Phoenix. He has no answer.
I'm actually a little bit curious why SOS isn't committing to an attack right now, because, I mean, he just has so many units compared to his opponent, and he has the air advantage. He has complete air dominance here. But we're not seeing any kind of reaction from Stork the counter that here, and also the probe count 45 to 30 as well. SOS still in a huge lead here.
SOS doesn't know how far ahead he is actually. Look at this, he's actually scouting around the map, trying to see if Stork actually made a hidden expansion around the map, knowing that Stork, he's known to do these little smart things that actually gets him the wins by coming back into the game when his opponent does not expect it. So SOS trying to scout around the map, see if there's any Nexus, while constantly harassing the probes, even getting the sentries one by one.
Oh, nice play by SOS here, killing off all of those sentries. That's a lot of gas invested and now essentially gone. I mean, SOS, he's just picking Stork apart right now, and this is what happens when you have a Phoenix on Phoenix battle and you lose the Phoenix score. You just lose your units, the constant Phoenix harass, because of the superior Phoenix count.
Now I'm still surprised that after knowing that his opponent is not making any more Phoenix, he's still moving around the map with the Phoenix but not actually pushing up. Maybe he wants to get the high DPS units out, such as the Immortals, get the double Colossus out and get a perfect victory for his team, because he doesn't want to actually screw up the micro and give his opponent a chance to win the game. He's trying to play as solid as possible, but that also gives Stork a little more time to come back into this game. So is Stork behind? Yes, but the SOS win the game? Not just yet.
Not just yet. It's probably going to be a few more minutes before that ends up happening here, because SOS still has a very large lead here. And I mean, there's an observer moving into the main base of Stork. That Dark Shrine, Stork's essentially, you know, ace card here to try to get back into this game. That has been scouted, and he's going to probably just be forced to make Archons, which, while they're good against Phoenix, I mean, he's still very far behind in overall economy and supplies.
Yeah, so once the second Colossus comes out and the third one comes out, I would like to see SOS finally move out on the map. Like I said, he's playing so safe. Like,
You know what?
Too safe.
Yeah, exactly. I want to say this is actually a little bit too safe by SOS here. He's kind of moving on the map, and then he's like, wait a second, I'm just going to move out a little bit here. Oh, look at this, though. So many Dark Templars getting warped in. And, oh, they completely have missed that expansion, too. And I guess the real issue is, are there any observers over here? Yes, the Dark Templar, they are spotted. And that's it. Stork GG's, knowing he is way too far behind. Game 2 goes to SOS.
WOONGJIN Stars taking an early 2-0 victory against Samsung Khan. And I have to say, his Mothership Core harassment was the reason why he was able to take the advantage early on and win the game, killing up to 5 probes with single Mothership Core, saving it until the very last second. Also winning the Phoenix Wars, getting his Nexus down much earlier than his opponent, forcing Stork to go for the counter all-in, and it failed.
Yep, so currently the score is 2-0. WOONGJIN Stars so far, pretty dominating the performance.